a little bit of terminology, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but when I talk about herbage mass or pasture mass, that's nothing more than forage dry matter yield. We typically talk about it clipped to nearly soil surface level using quadrats or frames, sampling frames, these kinds of things that we put out. These are approximately a square foot. Sometimes we use 2 square feet, sometimes we use a square meter. If we clip material to nearly soil surface level, oven dry it, weigh it, scale it up to pounds per acre, that's all we mean when we say pasture mass or forage mass. Residual herbage is the amount we expect to either leave behind after some sort of grazing event, stubble, in other words, do the same thing with clipping and measurement. Stocking density. We're going to talk about stocking density versus stocking rate. Sometimes the terms get confused. Stocking density is the simplest. It's simply either the live weight per acre or the number of animals of a particular class per acre, stockers, heifers, cows, per acre at any point in time. Doesn't matter whether we're talking about today, tomorrow, next week. There's no time dimension to it. It's however animals, number of animals are in place on a given area of land right now at this point in time. Stocking rate is the same concept, but now it's got a time dimension. So we add a time dimension, like we say, for the week, or for the month, or more typically for the season, or for the year. So we can change both of them, stocking density and stocking rate, by either changing the number of animals, or changing land area, or both. If you have a case of continuous stocking, continuous grazing, the bottom example here, stocking density is the same as stocking rate as you go through the season. If you're in rotational stocking, where we're moving through a series of paddocks or subdivisions, obviously you have all the animals concentrated on a small part of your farm, and so stocking density is going to be very high, even though stocking rate is on a farm basis. So just some terms. Carrying capacity. If we talk about finding a stocking rate, a sweet spot that allows us to achieve a target level of performance, let's say 1.5 pounds average daily gain, whatever it might be. What is the stocking rate that lets us do that on a long-term, sustainable basis without degrading our resources, without erosion, without a shift to weedy species, so without environmental degradation? That's carrying capacity. Just a few references to animal unit day, animal unit month. I'm not a huge fan of these terms. They tend to be used much more in the plain states and the western states, but you come across these in web soil surveys, so we need to talk about it. An animal unit is theoretically a 1,000-pound or 1,100-pound cow, sometimes with calf, sometimes without. The definitions vary. So non-lactating cow or equivalent number of other animals like sheep or goats. So at maintenance dry matter consumption of 1.6% of body weight, so that's about 17 pounds of forage dry matter per day, is the same thing as an animal unit day. One animal unit, I don't know, how many people have 1,000-pound cows? Or even 1,100-pound cows? 2, 3, okay. How many people have 1,300 and 1,400-pound cows? 2 or 3. Probably most of you are 1,200, 1,300. So this kind of harks back 50 years ago when our cows were 1,000 pounds. If you look at another definition up here, 1,000-pound cow with calf, now she's consuming at 2.6% of body weight per day. So depending on the definition, depending on the source you're using, you get these definitions. An animal unit day can be anywhere from 18 pounds to 26 pounds of forage dry matter. To me, that's a much more meaningful number to use. It's just a quantity of forage. Multiply by 30 days, you get an animal unit month. So it's just taking that 18 pounds or that 26 pounds multiplied by 30, you get 540, you get 800 pounds, depends on the definition. And the definitions are so fuzzy and so variable depending on the stuff you read. I just find it a confusing system. I'd rather just talk about pounds of forage dry matter. Grazing pressure. So now we're talking about ways to express the balance or the ratio between animal demand and forage supply. We talk about grazing pressure. That's nothing more than the number of animals or weight of animals consuming a given amount of forage. We don't use that much in forage budgeting. Forage allowance, Matt referred to this. We use that a lot more. That's the mass of forage, dry matter, per animal for a defined period of time. So Matt talked about percent and a half, 2, 3, 4% of body weight per day as dry matter intake. So if we were to assign 6 to 9% of body weight, let's take it again, 10,000 pound animal, because the math is easy. If we assign that animal, 60 to 90 pounds of forage dry matter per day, we might expect it to eat something like 25 to 30 of those pounds. We have to assign more than we expect the animals to eat. So that would be an example of forage allowance to get 3% consumption. The reason I bring up forage allowance is it's a much more convenient way to express the balance between forage supply and animal demand as you go across a range of production potential from low fertility, drought-prone, thin soils to high fertility, well-watered, more productive soils. When you talk about this relationship between forage supply and animal demand, you get away from stock breeding. Now, you all know if we give animals enough to eat, surplus amount of forage to consume, they can graze selectively and they can exhibit diet selection, and so they can preferentially pick the higher quality or more palatable parts of the forage. We need to bear that in mind because when we give animals more than they require, they may actually get a higher quality diet than we realize.